obviously have the different pacings. You can have different landing zones. There's so much customization to our squad when it comes into actual competitive, which we'll talk about, more in depth as the tournament does kind of progress. But it's a factor of, we talk about, other FPSs, other, third-person shooters and whatnot, the ability to have, kind of strategies that are your own, different play styles. This game has so much customization for that, not just as far as landings. We talk about, like I said, like play styles, like how fast you want to play. But, I mean, this one just has so much, availability to really play your own game and to really kind of specialize in a certain topic. So I think that really kind of sets up pretty well what should be this very interesting winners semifinal game between Vikkstar and Tinny and NoahJ and Avxry. It looks like off the break, a pretty interesting bus zone off the start, kind of toward the southwest side of the map. And it looks like NoahJ and Co. are going maybe toward
looks kind of threatening Shifty.
Potentially, yeah. Maybe.
Could go Shifty, could go over to the left as well.
Maybe some Tomato Town, I'm not sure.
Let's see definitely how it's going to go. I mean, Vikkstar and Tinny, where are they looking? They look like they're going to be hitting up Fatal, which obviously is a phenomenal place to be going to. But obviously with the buses trajectory,
Greasy. I said Tomato.
Greasy. They might have a lot of competition here at Fatal, especially because as the bus trajectory, they might run into a lot of people, so they got to be careful, especially if they can't get any loot off the beginning. So that's going to be a tough break for them. NoahJ and Avxry are in fact going to be going threatening tilted, but of course we've seen them do this before. They're probably not going to do that. They're probably going to hit up Greasy, or actually no, it looks like what, going to the soccer field?
They're bypassing Greasy.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to soccer field. This is one of the spots that they'd like to go to.
I'd love to point out the beautiful shirt in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Matches the beautiful shirt in the left-hand.
Didn't even notice that. Got the same shirt going on.
He's got great taste. just gonna throw that out there.
Shout out to Avxry.
Only you would notice that, bud.
But yeah, we talk about the landing zones. So it looks like for Vikkstar's team, which is one that I really want to kind of highlight to really be aware of, because we're just not super familiar with their playstyle, what they like to do. They obviously head toward Fatal. There were a few squads here, but it looks like for Vikkstar right now, you kind of see him in the top right with his face cam. Looks like he's pretty aware of the fact that, hey, there's going to be a lot of players kind of toward that latter parts. He only escapes with a gray pistol, so not a whole lot to really work with in this situation. So trying to back up, trying to maybe gain some knowledge with Tinny and try to really reevaluate the situation. But a pretty decent start for both these squads. No real engagements necessarily, but that's not what you have to have. Like you said, Ryan, this isn't blitz necessarily. This is kind of work on your play style, kind of find the kills from there. They don't have to go all out aggressive at the beginning.
So this is the one thing about Tinny and Vikkstar, right? One of the big things, they took a risk. They landed where they knew it was going to be highly populated because of the bus trajectory. They went Fatal, right? Unfortunately, they weren't able to get good loot. We're only seeing a gray pistol on Vikkstar's screen. That, in turn, caused them to have to dip out early to try and get these little, at least off positions. I mean, we do see a green tack coming in Vikkstar's position, but nonetheless, it seems like that risk kind of didn't pay off, and now they're going to be at a disadvantage if they get into a team fight. So that's something they have to watch out for. Whereas you see NoahJ and Avxry, yeah, they haven't had any engagements, but look at their kits. Their kits are definitely looking a lot better than Vikkstar and Tinny.
Yeah, I mean, lucky for them, both teams landed in an area that wasn't really populated, and so in game one you can kind of do that a little more because there's no, you're not coming into a game with a lead, you're not coming into a game with a deficit. So I think if you do want to do the strategy of being more passive and kind of risking getting a better kit in terms instead of kills, it's game one. Yeah. That being said, despite not having the strongest kit, I mean, in Fortnite, these are really high-skilled players, right? You can be given a great kit from a single kill, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind too. Despite, I think the biggest thing is they stayed alive, right? And then their opponents also don't have any kills. So I think that despite not having good kits, they're also not in like the worst spot possible. As we do see Vikkstar come up on a person with a pistol, does get the knock. Wow. Like I said, this could change everything, right? He could get great loot from this one player for all we know.
Yeah, kind of entering in toward Salty Springs, which is a decently popular place. Of course, kind of fading into this from essentially Fatal off the start, but looking to try to get some exiting frags, looking for the official takedown, not just the knockdown, but it looks like I believe Tinny does end up finding a kill there as well, potentially. So this is a good moment for them, right? We talk about maybe not the best kind of situations when it comes down to loot. A green shotgun is really all that Vikkstar has to his name, but he quickly could be changing that as they've got some meds, they've got some shields to work with, and I believe they just picked up a green AR as well. So looking a little bit better, looking a little bit prettier as time does go on, but we look at the right side of our screen, NoahJ and Avxry. I see a few pretty tall towers where they're going to be going to, which is, like we said, Taylor, we talked about this is a strategy they like to implement sometimes.
100%.
Not necessarily entering all the way to Tilted, but kind of hanging on the outskirts.
Yeah, so Tilted is kind of what they do, right? They go into Shifty, they go to Soccer Field, and then they love to hit the outskirts of Tilted, pick off some kills from people who are already engaged in some battles. But, of course, it's still slow going for them, both sitting at 0 kills. Of course, we'll see if they'll be able to find anything in Tilted. But looking at the screen now, I believe Tinny does have 2 kills himself. Vikkstar sitting at 2 kills as well, so that's a total of 4 potential kills we could be seeing. Nice little sizable lead. Of course, in Salty, they might pick up some more engagements as well. Notice they did managed to pick up, like you said, getting those kills, picking up the loot, got an RPG. They also have the grenade launcher in the back pocket along with the green AR and the green tac. Can't see what Tinny's rocking, but we do see some engagements happening now on Noah's screen. See if they'll be able to pick up some kills and much-needed kills, in fact.
We see the double explode combo we talked about earlier. It's not 2 grenade launchers.
Oh, look at Vikkstar.
Oh, nice double kill.
Oh, my gosh. Vikkstar happens to find not just 1, not just 2, but a few. In fact, fantastic play coming in from him he's now got 4 frags up his sleeve, too, and there could be another one just in their midst. Shots toward his left, gets a few damage with the shotgun, and takes him down as well. On the opposite, NoahJ and Avxry still in the midst of actually shooting a bus, but, regardless, just making sure no one's hanging out behind it. A little bit of interesting strategy, but maybe they have some knowledge as far as what they hear.
He took damage earlier, so I think he's trying to figure out where the shots came in that he took damage from.
I'm not exactly sure.
A lot of engagements over here at Salty, and that's definitely panning off. Like you said, he got those 4 kills. He's sitting at 6 himself. Tinny, I think, is sitting at least 2.
I'm not sure what they're doing here.
Who's that? Noah?
Are they clear?
Noah
They're clearing out like area or what?
I don't know. He's pretty exposed at this point. What is he doing?
Like Avxry was kind of just freeloading his LMG onto NoahJ, so I'm not sure exactly what the call is. It looks like impulses come through to try to limit the line sights, but nice knockdown there from Noah. Consistent shots toward that top platform will send yet again another player to a knockdown position. And welcome back to the loading screen, pal, as NoahJ now is up to 3 frags in total for his squad. And that's the one thing that's nice about Tilted. When you have the ability to kind of be around the outskirts to enter in, is that there's always going to be at least one guy in Tilted. You can always rely on the fact that there will be players around this area. Ooh. And granted, that can work in some cases, but it can also be your downfall, as it looks like NoahJ taking some excess damage. Where is it from exactly is where they are trying to figure out now.
They've kind of been just hovering around the same spot. I mean,
why is he bandaging out in the open?
I'm kind of curious. I mean, they were shooting at the ground earlier. He's bandaging in the open, and I'm kind of curious. Like, is he trying to bait people out? I mean, that's my only suggestion as to why he would be doing
Wouldn't recommend it. I think it's fair to say, but
NoahJ and Avxry, I mean, typically they're very tactical, but at this point they seem to be kind of loose. And I don't know. Maybe the strategy is going to work out for them. They're going to use the jump pad. They're going to go ahead and dip out.
They're going to be pretty close to their friends here, and Tinny, and Vikkstar. They're going to be not far off their pace. As it looks like, I like what we're seeing from Vikkstar and Tinny here, is being aware of players coming out of the storm zone, trying to be kind of around the outskirts of that area, trying to find their remaining players. And this is one thing that I've seen FaZe be very, very good at as well, is the ability to know where the opposition is. Where are the kind of roaming players, the guys who are in this lobby, what are they thinking? Like, what's their mentality coming into this game? And a lot of the time, it's these squads who necessarily aren't the most talented, are just trying to get out from the storm. So that's what we're seeing right now. Fights just going down on the outskirts. It looks like Vikkstar does get taken down for a little bit. Thankfully, does have a mini in his back pocket and now can try to re-engage here with his teammate.
One thing I have noticed about Vikkstar and Tinny is they don't tend to be very aggressive. They kind of hang back, try to get those AR kills. Yeah. We will finally see a push, though, as Tinny on your screen getting that knock. A big push going in from Noah. He gets a knock as well, plus the elimination coming through to increase that kill count to, 6 now? But, of course, we see 6 alone for Vikkstar, but not too big of a deficit between the two. I believe there's only about a 2-kill lead for Vikkstar and Tinny himself. So looking still pretty solid on both ends. So how many more? We have 24 total engagements left, but pretty slow nonetheless. I would have to say between the two, but different play styles. And NoahJ and Avxry, I'm really confused with how they've been playing overall. They play at least similar to how we've seen them in the past, but that Tilted was a bit confusing. And I wish I could see or at least know what's going on through their minds.
And I know one thing as well both teams now kind of have to prefer, as they're really right next to each other, is the factor of the next zone. It's not near them whatsoever. Granted, they have some time, but really their kind of main focus has to be on the sprint, making sure you get past Dusty Divot, trying to get in toward that outside Salty Springs kind of storm there, that zone rather. So they're going to have to kind of prefer being on the run. Engagements are nice. They're fun. You obviously want to try to get as many as you possibly can, but sprinting and making sure that you're set up as far as your map position needs to be kind of the main frame right now, I think, for both of these squads.
One thing I think that's going to help late in the round, too, if you look at NoahJ and Avxry's kits, they have 17 rockets over on, I believe that's Avxry. And then NoahJ does have the grenade launcher as well. Obviously, as you get more kills, you can loot up more ammo. But late round, when the circle's getting close, obviously you're getting your final engagements, build wars. Having those rockets are a really big help. And you can see, we at least see Vikkstar only has 2 rockets in his RPG. So obviously we don't know what Tinny's kit looks like. But, we do see a shopping cart coming from NoahJ.
Yes,
I like it.
We were wondering when we were going to see a shopping cart.
Oh, he's going to go right into Dusty Divot. This is going to be great.
Yeah, why is this? I mean, you get a lot of speed on that hill, right? He's going to go down, probably get a pop rock. He's going to jump in and try and back up his teammate that's inside. It looks like he was in a little engagement. Vikkstar trying to find that player. As he does, in fact, get a rocket knockdown. Comes in, but does takes a lot of damage. He's going to go ahead and build up and try and get that defensive building. Does spot the player straight ahead, and there he is. I don't think he was expecting
that. Was an accidental. He has a great accidental play.
Talk about making the best out of a bad situation. Like literally happens to with that hop rock. Backs up a little bit too far, but a player happens to be right in front of his line sight, making quick work of that. As now he's the highest, I believe, most kills in the lobby, top fragger in this game with 7 kills, and is about to make it 8, I believe, unless this is Tinny's knocked down. So no, that's actually his. So
I believe they have a 7-kill lead now.
Something along those lines.
I think we're at 6 kills. I think we're at 6-12 right now.
6-12. Wow, that's a good little padding. Going
but there is quite a bit of enemies left.
There are.
Oh, yeah,
and that's the one thing that I think plays really well into NoahJ and Avxry's play is the fact that they realize once you get down to like that, and I was talking about this earlier, that 40 to 30, 20 range, there are so many more engagements that are going to happen in that chunk of players compared to when 100 lobbies or 100 players start off in the lobby. Like, you really have so many opportunities when you're in that kind of entangled circle. You're going to be seeing so many more enemies, as it looks like right now Vikkstar not having any shortage of players in front of his line sight, tossing out the rocket. Rocket launch is coming in his response, but literally is making it look so easy with these shots on to these targets just in front of him. Shots coming in from his backside as he needs to back up, needs to try to build up, and it looks like he will be doing exactly that, sitting comfortably by the campfire. Granted, he's at 100 shields.
He put a campfire with 100 health.
But it looks like he is going to make quick work of one. And we'll go with a knockdown now nearly at double digits here, Taylor.
Well, one thing, too, that I wanted to point out is look at NoahJ and Avxry's position. Avxry's a little bit further inside the circle, but Noah himself, he's waiting for that storm to collapse down and hoping some players are going to collapse down with that storm. Vikkstar and Tinny's being really aggressive over in Dusty. They're going to have to outrun that storm, but nonetheless, it shows that this risk, is, as you see the storm is going to be moving in, the risk to kind of battle with that storm
this is going to be very close.
Is paying off.
He could actually be taking
Is he going to get the jug off? Yeah.
I don't think he will. No, he might.
I think he
is.
This is
literally, if it touches him, he's dead. He got it.
Wow.
That's
very, very close. When you talk about maybe 2 to 3 seconds where he doesn't rock that chug, he's probably dead to rights in this situation, and Tinny is left in a spot to probably lose a lot of that lead. So smart play coming in there from Vikkstar. He will stay up, and the engagement's continuing on here for Avxry and co. Of course, Avxry on our screen right now. Nice shot from afar. Of course, has the hunting rifle in his midst. That's a great weapon to utilize if you're pretty decent with it.
Headshot.
And that's a fantastic play at the exact same time that he finds that knockdown, though, on the opposite side of the map. Tinny as well, finding kills.
Got a whole team in
but they don't know exactly where he is. Where is Avxry lingering? He happens to be on your flank.
Way behind his teammate. He left his teammate a long time ago. That's what I was talking about. They left Noah to be back there and kind of just work that storm as it was going to close in. And Avxry pushes forward to try and find some engagements. And this is the strategy we've been talking about all tournament, right? Whenever it comes to splitting up. And he is just mowing these players down. And very welcomed indeed, as you see Avxry lighting up that kill feed. Now only a total of 8 engagements remaining, and that was a huge amount of kills. Now sitting them at 12, but notice Vikkstar himself is still he's at 10 kills, and I believe Tinny has 2 himself. So I think we got a tied ball game.
I think
here.
Tinny has 4.
Does he have 4? So maybe
5 actually. Sorry, 5 kills.
He's got 5. So what? 15 to 12. So 3 kill lead.
They did a good job closing the gap there.
Not too bad.
I'm glad you guys are good at math and be able to add these on the fly, because Lord knows that I could not, as well as production too. Yeah, 15 to 12 right now, 3 kill advantage right now toward Vikkstar's squad, but that could be quickly changing. NoahJ right now in a pretty long distance engagement. 2 players sit just in front of him, and we'll see how he tries to counter this. We talked about he and Avxry, not necessarily the closest to each other right now, could obviously pay off in their favor, but just like that, he does get taken nearly down with a sniper shot, 15 HP, and having to go for the quick med kit.
Well, I think he's going to be okay. Currently, there's still 6 engagements left, and
goodness.
one person is pushing behind. He doesn't get the med kit off, still sitting at 15 health as he's getting pushed from the right and the left. His teammate is nowhere in sight, though, so he's got to be very careful here as he does, in fact, get the knock, but he gets taken down. Where's his teammate
I believe Vikkstar got that knock, not even his teammate.
Did Vikkstar
so not only did he go down there, he let his opponent get the kill from a distance.
I
now
love
Vikkstar
that
can come in there shooting rockets into the opponents. That's unfortunate. You hate to see it.
You do. And nice knockdown there from Vikkstar as well, eliminating one, and then you're
Oh,
going to go for
Jetpack coming
the
in
rocket
clutch.
launch over the tree. You will not see this in any other game. I promise you that.
Player has
Coming
no
from the
idea he's
skies.
coming from
No,
behind.
he's
Still
getting
has no
shot,
idea.
He's doing it, turn around.
It's a red knight too.
We love potato season.
It's a red knight though. It's not a potato. This situation.
I don't even know what happened there. I guess he was too preoccupied looking ahead, but that's the
Oh.
kind of kills you love. You just keep blasting them from the back, and they don't even turn around.
That's what I was talking about, man. Vikkstar, he was an incredibly solid player in our first few tournaments. He's obviously back and ready for the action. He's up to 12 kills. Playing incredibly well. Granted, the jetpack isn't necessarily working out in his favor, but he's okay with that. He's got the kills to favor him at the moment. But
Pulls up on LeBron.
yep, NoahJ down and has to go for the exiting kills here. So he's now going to be up to 13 potentially. I think. I guess that was a teammate or someone. I thought that just rocket launched it into him.
I got to say, I'm so sad now from not watching Vikkstar and Tinny in,
Oh my
in our
gosh.
previous tournaments because Vikkstar is an absolute
On
animal.
fire.
He has been decimating his opponents left and right, sitting at 14 kills. That is so respectable. Of course, Avxry having a great game as well. He's going to be sitting at 8 once he gets that knock, and now actually he's going to be potentially at 10 if he's able to get this kill. That player doing some defensive building, but
Nice
I think
edit.
this is the last player, so he's going to go in. He's going to get the kill. That's going to be the #1 spot. But what is the score so far? Still incredibly close, but what a powerhouse team on both ends. Incredibly impressed by Vikkstar and Tinny.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting to see a pretty solid performance from NoahJ and Avxry, which is what we got, but we saw an
course.
even better performance from Tinny and Vikkstar in that situation. I think it was honestly props to Vikkstar. He was kind of just sitting outside of one of the areas, one of the towns, and he just knew exactly the route that a lot of the players were going to be coming from. He found one kill. He found the second kill. Then he started to see a whole squad. Then
Yeah.
another squad. I mean, he was just really kind of expounding upon the ability of having so many enemies kind of in front of him. And we also got to bring up NoahJ. If he doesn't die in that situation, you got to argue probably like maybe even less than half a second away from getting that med kit off. That guy,
Ooh.
it seemed as if he wasn't going to be there, but ends up getting taken down. And, of course, we see that being reflected in the scoreboard here as a 7-kill advantage heading into this game, too. That's good. That's solid. It's not necessarily anything that can't be beat, but, I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident heading into a map, too, with a lead like that.
So one thing I wanted to talk about was the overall strategy that we saw. We saw various different things. So one, first of all, when I pointed out in Dusty Divot, we saw Vikkstar and Tinny were outside of the storm. We saw the storm coming in rapidly as he was using that medkit. But that was something that worked out in their advantage because they also found a lot of players who were fighting off the storm as well. So they were able to get a lot of kills in Dusty, whereas we saw NoahJ and Avxry, they pushed up and they were relatively close to the circle. Then we saw a split, right? We saw Avxry leave. NoahJ stayed back with the sniper, and he was trying to catch players coming in along that storm line as well. He was going to catch the players coming who were forced to run in and maybe going to be at low health. He was going to get some easy picks. That split ended up working out in their favor. NoahJ, he did go out, he did go down, but Avxry ended up finding out some other teams who were already progressed further on in this circle for themselves, right? So two different things that we saw. It worked out really for the team of Vikkstar and Tinny, though, fighting off that storm. But, I mean, it could have went either which way.
I think Vikkstar did a really good job utilizing the rockets too. If you notice that, he was. Hold on. Am I hearing that correctly?
So apparently, we've been told that we're actually replaying Game 1 because a hacker was actually in the lobby. Now, this is what I think was actually happening. I just thought about this. Remember when we were in Tilted and we saw NoahJ and Avxry randomly shooting everywhere inside of Tilted? They were kind of shooting at the ground.
Yep.
I guess that might have been the situation at hand there.
So, he's under the map. That's why he was shooting at the ground.
Because I was like, how are these guys taking
Okay.
damage and why are they doing this? So that's unfortunately an issue that we have to deal with when it comes down to these.
He was like
regular
LMGing the
lobbies.
buses and all the
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. That's interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's the exact situation. I mean, you like to imagine that probably is the case. I just kind of assumed that was the position
Right.
that they were
Well,
at. But
right.
yeah, man, that's a huge moment in this game.
That could answer why he was bandaging. He put the platform under himself and was bandaging. We're like, why is he bandaging in the open?
Oh yeah,
Because the guy can't shoot him from under the map.
wow.
So it's actually the safest spot to bandage.
To be fair, though, they battled a hacker and still ended up
yeah.
finishing strong. So
And lived to tell the
and
tale.
lived to tell the tale. That just comes to
At least
show.
Avxry did, right?
Right,
No,
one of
no,
them-
Jay
yeah.
didn't. But,
That is so disappointing. I can only imagine a hacker just sitting there in his mom's basement, just
Under
like
the map.
I've got to win somehow. I've got to hack him underneath the map. Like,
can someone actually Twitch clip that, please? I
Yeah.
would really appreciate that.
I could
That'd
just
be
Please,
great.
Taylor in the basement.
why do I gotta?
hey, you know.
Come on, but seriously though, that's terrible.
yeah.
And now, see, now how this is what we talked in, and Ribs talked about this before, it coming from a competitive mindset. Now, how do they let that go, right? How are they going to be able to let that go from their mind?
I,
Because
mean, I
they
think
were
for
up
Noah and
7
Avery,
kills.
like that's a gift. Like,
Well,
you're
it's
like,
a
okay,
huge
That'd be
kill.
like
kill.
no, it's more so on Vikkstar's side with his
exactly,
teammates.
yeah.
I mean, letting go of the fact that like, oh, like we just built a big lead and now we got to replay. Like things are completely out of their control. So I think
It's
actually,
7
if anything,
kill
like
advantage,
I
yeah.
don't know if pressure is the right word, but I think anything, like, it's on them to still bounce back, still continue to play their game, and just trying to emulate what they did in game 1 because they had a very, very strong game 1.
They did.
I was going to ask you guys, I mean, heading into this next map, essentially, how is the opposition really going to perform in Noah, J, and Avery in this spot? I was going to ask you guys and say, you know, I mean, how do you kind of, like, where are you going to land? Like, what's the strategy heading into a map like this, and what's their mentality? But now I can even ask you at this point, what's their mentality after the restart? Of course, like we said, guys, if you're just joining us, unfortunately, we did have a hacker in the last game affecting both Noah, J, and Avery, so we're going to see a full reset, a full replay of map number 1. So we're back at square one, back at 0, essentially, to start off this, you know, series again. But what's the mentality right now if you're Noah, J, and Avery in this spot? I mean, do you feel a little bit more confident? Do you have a chip on your shoulder after losing the first game technically by 7? You could argue the effectiveness that you know, map 1 had on them. But, you know, what's the mentality for them right now?
So this is going to be, they're actually showing right now, I believe this is the hacker on your screen who was underneath the map. Just,
How do you do that?
I don't even, I don't know.
Like,
Yeah, look at that. But
can
so he
shoot him.
was still taking damage. So that's why he was so confused. He's like,
Yeah.
what is going on at this point? And that's why he put the fireplace up there. Right? We were talking about that. Why put the campfire on top? This guy, but I just want to attest how bad this hacker was. Underneath the map, had the advantage, and still couldn't pick up a kill. Please, stop hacking. Terrible.
Taylor feels very strongly about
I'm
hackers.
I hate hacker because the thing is, you kill the game. You kill the game.
I'm aware. I
and
agree
if you're
with
a
you.
hacker and you still can't pick up a kill, get out.
Just get out.
Just get out. You're done.
You're done.
You're done.
How did he die? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how does he?
Probably the storm.
Honestly,
get-
probably
Had to be,
Storm,
had to be the
yeah.
storm, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Unless he's like can jump out of them. I don't know. Yeah.
Unless that was like, well,
I'm not a hacker. I
What
don't
I'm
know.
imagining is like, watch it actually not like, obviously it's like a hacking thing, but like, what if it's just a mobile player who accidentally like fell in a bush?
So that's the
like,
thing, too.
I was like, oh my god, like I'm underneath
I'm
the map. Like,
underneath
this
the
is
map.
amazing. Like,
It's like this. What is this gift that has
Gotta make the
been
best of it,
bestowed
right?
on me?
You gotta start shooting at him.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm underneath. But I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Of all places, though, under tilted towers, like
yeah,
this is
it's
a little
bit
fishy
sketchy,
for me.
But
don't
It
I
is,
know.
mean,
yeah.
Stranger Things have happened. This I know. That was Legion's favorite show, Stranger Things. But nonetheless, you asked me, what do I feel about Noah and how
their
are they going to
mentality
feel
right
going-
now.
So
You could argue like they got to be feeling good, but
So
like,
on them, I'm like,
they
hey, we're
they gotta
back.
be feeling good. I think at this point it's going to affect Vikkstar and Tinny more. But overall, strategy-wise, it's going to be the same thing, just like we were playing Game 1, first time without the hacker, right? They're going to go. I would have to assume, of course, the trajectory of the bus is going to play an effect. But Noah, J, and Avery, they're going to do their typical thing. I assume Shifty, maybe even the soccer field, hit up tilted from there. Vikkstar and Tinny, though, at this point, I don't know. I mean, because we're so new to seeing them, we've only seen one round.
yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't surprise me if we see a salty drop, but
I want to ask you guys really quick too. Like, this is just a general question that even the chat can obviously get involved with. What is your typical landing spot? Because I'm not gonna lie, like after watching a lot of our weeks and a lot of our broadcasts and whatnot, like my idea of like where I normally land has absolutely changed up quite a bit. I mean, especially after watching the kind of like the phase strategy that we've call it, Junk Junction. Then you kind of fade into Pleasant Park. Then you kind of fade into different strategies and whatnot. It really kind of has played a factor in a lot of my gameplay as well. And I want to know like your ideal position, right? If you could just choose, what's a normal city where Ryan or Reflections, where do you guys normally like to land at after watching a lot of these games, and has it really affected your overall strategy after watching these tournaments?
The place I like to land, I hardly ever see it. I like to land Anarchy Acres and Fatal Fields just when I play with myself because
Okay.
I like how kind of open it is. Like there's a lot of like lines of sight to shoot at.
Right.
It's fun for squads, stuff like that. It isn't. It's fairly populated actually too. You see a lot. We call it Long Barn. A lot of people push
Yeah.
the Long Barn, the big grandma's house.
Right.
I'm actually surprised how little we do see it in these tournaments, but that's kind of where I like to land.
yeah, so for me, it used to be fatal before these tournaments. And the reason being is because I would land at the crater. You would have the opportunity to get 3 chests from there, go over to the rocky area. You could find a chest there. You could find a chest by the trees, and you can also find a chest over by the water. But now, after watching these tournaments, I love to go salty. But
Yeah, man, I've been a pretty big fan
Yeah.
of Salty Springs as of
salty's
late.
been my place.
It's been super popular in our tournaments.
Yeah, I know. What was it like in week 2? So that was obviously 2 weeks ago. We saw TSM heavily favoring
Every
that.
time, yeah.
Same thing with Thief Squad with him and Typical Gamer. They've been kind of favoring Salty Springs quite a bit. But of course, as we talk about our landing zones, our favorite ones, we'll see how our competitors are
So-
going to be choosing right now off the break.
Vikkstar and Tinny have, in fact, marked salty at this point. We don't see – well, actually, what do we see marked over there for Noah, J, and
I
Avery?
think that's soccer.
Well,
It looks like soccer. I mean, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the typical spot, right? That's where they like to go. So that's exactly what I thought would happen. Vikkstar and Tinny might hit up salty, and then we might see a Noah, J, and Avery go soccer field or shifty. So still, like I said, it's just game 1 all over again. Same strategies. Nothing's really changed.
But this thing though, like as far as the play styles, because NoahJ and Avxry are going for, unless they go tilted, which NoahJ's making it look like it for the time, believe he's going to be going soccer field based off the mountain landing. So yeah, but as far as the play styles are considered, you could argue late game or kind of like mid game essentially, NoahJ and Avxry have the better landing spot because they can fade back to tilted, which is what they like to do quite a bit of the time. They try to get kitted up essentially that kind of same strat to phase, go to a less populated area, get the kits, get everything essentially, and go back to a more populated area to kind of shoot from afar. But in this situation for Vikkstar and Tinny, right, they go kind of toward a decently popular place. They're going for early engagements. I believe right here for Vikkstar and co, they don't actually get the best landing. They don't maybe go for salty off the break. Maybe they see too many enemies. So I think right now, as far as landing is considered, you could argue, I think off the break of course of this restart, NoahJ and Avxry could be in a better situation right now because they have a guaranteed soccer field, and right now for Vikkstar and Tinny, they're kind of going for scraps at this point.
So Vikkstar and Tinny did this last game. They looked like they were threatening to go fatal, ended up breaking off because of the number of engagements there, or they felt they wouldn't get a good landing, and they hit up those little rinky-dink houses that are out there that might have some, they do have some chests. They have some good loot. I mean, we've already seen a green pump in his hands along with an AR half pot, but that's what they did, and they look like they are going to be threatening to push salty, so they're going to be coming in on some heavily kitted players, but on top of that too, they'll be coming in to some previously prior engagements, so we could have some low health players, but on top of that, they could catch some teams off guard and get some kills, whereas we're seeing the same strategy from NoahJ and Avxry, so pretty much the same start as we had last time.
Yeah, but you look at the weapon selection, though. Of course, we can't see Tinny's screen as they're going to be entering in towards Salty. Not the greatest of weapons. I mean, a green pump is nice, right? You can obviously do a lot of damage with that, but a gray AR, granted, they're getting into some engagements right now, which can be a little bit risky, you could argue. But right now for NoahJ and Avxry, I mean, you see, I see greens, I see blues, I see a lot of shields and whatnot. They've got a pretty good weapon selection. But let's go and take a look at Vikkstar's screen, the knockdown from above, and it's about to be a second one off the start. Ramps being built, and it looks like this is a pretty decent player at that, but not decent enough to try to take down both Tinny and Vikkstar. They should be able to find a quick and early 4 kills off the break, but Vikkstar has to be careful. Thankfully, will stay alive in this situation. So a nice early start for this group. We talked about maybe not the best kit compared to their counterparts, but off of that full team wipe, you could argue they're basically kind of at the same situation.
We can talk about it. With players at this level, they don't always necessarily need the best kits to kill some of the players in ranked, obviously. So, a bad kit can turn into an amazing kit in one fell swoop, right? And we're seeing that here. Vikkstar already having good weapons again. Again, we haven't seen Tinny's kit, but we know obviously it's improved a lot, killing 4 people's worth of loot plus the loot you got in the beginning. So I never tend to worry too much when players come into these situations with horrible loot in the beginning because that can change so quickly.
And one thing that I noticed as well is, looks like I'm going to be kind of transferring over to NoahJ's screen for a moment, is that they kind of grab the pop rocks kind of near their area, and they're going to be yet again kind of hanging out toward the outskirts of Tilted, so kind of rocking the same strategy as last time. And it's nice, right? We talked about, I know, Taylor, you've even mentioned in your gameplay as well, it's always nice to have pop rocks available. The ability to kind of quickly transfer to one area of the map compared to another. But we talked about
grenades.
A lot of building, gets the Kobe actually across the map, coming in from NoahJ, the nice toss, and he also has the Deagle out, hitting some shots, making it look easy from afar. But right now, NoahJ and Avxry got to be feeling good at the moment. They've got some free loot on the ground, and that's not all they're going to grab. They could be able to find some more frags as time goes on. They've got some big pots of blue pump, I believe, to maybe add toward the double pump strat.
Gold bolt, too. That's huge, right? We don't see that too often.
I mean, the sniper's not actually that practical in these game modes because it does kind of force you to play a little slower with the snipe. You see sometimes the hunting rifle used, but you see a lot of times you talk about players like Tifu who doesn't actually like to use the snipe because he goes for a lot of high kill games. He goes, the sniper slows me down too much. He goes, I'm forced to stand still. I'm forced to move around less. And he goes, the less I move around, the less kills I get. So that's why you don't see that many sniper rifles in these kind of gameplays because it all is about constant movement, about constant engagements, about getting the most kills possible.
I think it's just about individual play style and what you see, right? Because you mentioned Tifu. He likes to push. That's like his typical style. So, but it's definitely good to have in your back pocket, at least if you can just fill up your slots. So definitely something good to have. But still, with that being said, Noah, he's only sitting at 1 kill. I do believe Vikkstar and Tinny is sitting at 2 for themselves, maybe even 3 total kills. But not a lot of engagements. Of 44 still remaining. It's been still. It's actually, I believe it's a slower game now than it was last game.
And I believe the Vikkstar does spot someone inside this building. So we saw nades on one side. Can we see it from the other? as entering in from the top. And one thing that I've noticed from Vikkstar's play heading into Game 1, now into technically a restart of Game 1, is their factor of hanging out in these large-scale cities on the outskirts of the circle, outside of the zone. This is where a lot of our players are going to be hanging out when it comes down to this lobby. So one thing definitely to be looking out for when it comes down to this game, but it looks like a lot of engagements coming through. Avxry does find at least 2 there in that situation, 3 fall in total. So nice kind of team wipe coming in from NoahJ and Avxry, but on the opposite end, kind of going back to Vikkstar and Tinny situation, I think I like the play that they're in. Granted, they're not near a tilted, so they're not going to have that advantage of being a lot of those engagements, but this is a strat that the FaZe guys like to commit. They like to kind of be on the outskirts, hang around where the opposition is going to be lingering. It's not necessarily where you're going to be going where the high-profile players want to go. Kills are kills. You really have to be in the mindset of what a regular player is going to be doing in a game of Fortnite.
I want to attest to the accuracy from that scope they are in Vikkstar's hand. He was just decimating.
Ooh.
As we see an elimination coming through, one player to his left and his teammate picking up a kill as well. So that's going to be 2 eliminations back-to-back for them, of course, to tie it up. Very close game so far as we're seeing different areas coming through. We still have Tilted from NoahJ and Avxry, Vikkstar and Tinny. Now they're going to be at Retail, which is a place we didn't get to see them go last map. They hovered around Salty for quite a bit, but 2 different strategies, but relatively the same score, as we're going to see. They haven't been able to meet up with each other just yet, as we do see an engagement. He misses that player. He's going to go ahead and build up, try and get it himself, as we're going to see Avxry on your screen trying to edit out, build above the player. But still, I mean, very close, and a lot closer than the last game we saw. I'm curious to see the end game, because that's where it started really popping off for these 2 teams.
Definitely is. Of course, we talk about tilted, high risk, high reward. Avxry having the advanced position from the top side, trying to watch over his teammate. Will toss out the sticky bombs. Can he find any kills with it? And it looks like he will do exactly that. This team, we talk about NoahJ and Avxry. Early on in the tournament, it was Avxry who had to go big despite having NoahJ dropped off the start. And he seems to be playing incredibly solid, of course, alongside his counterpart. But we talk about this group, right? I know we talked about their consistency as a team. But the reason why they're so consistent, it's just both of them are so darn good. Like, we talked about it in prior tournaments, like NoahJ needs to go off. Finishes off with like 11, 12, 13 kills, like 2 or 3 times in a row. And then Avxry's play already so far throughout this tournament has been stellar. I mean, these 2 guys, like I said, they're not necessarily the most aggressive players in the world, but when they have to find the kills, they're going to do it. But on the opposite end, like you mentioned there, Taylor, Vikkstar, with this scope they are, is absolutely lethal.
And they're not the most flashy players either, if you notice. So you don't really see that many, crazy psycho builds to a cool launch pad to an impulse nade 360, right? You don't see any of those crazy flashy plays from these guys. They're very, very sound. They're both very accurate. And like I said, they work really well together. I think that's one reason they've seen so much success in our tournaments thus far.
Yeah, they definitely do, and they have their strategy that they don't break away from. I mean, their strategy is their strategy. They don't try to deviate from that. They do their thing. I think we've seen a tilted drop from NoahJ and Avxry one time, and I think that was actually in the last tournament, and that was something I totally didn't expect. But for the most part, Shifty, Soccer Field, that's where they go, and that's their home, and they've got their path down pat, and they don't break away from that. You got to respect that. So I definitely like that. But Vikkstar and Tinny, Vikkstar using that the impulse plus the pop rock to try and get a little bit of an advantage there. He's going to double back. May have hurt a player.
I think we're tied right now.
I think we are tied.
We're tied at 8-8 right now.
Which is big. I mean, you got to think, what is Vikkstar and Tinny thinking at this point, right? They were up 7 kills in that last one. Of course, the hacker ruined it for everybody. Thank you so much. But, hey, to go into the second game tied up, but when you could have been up 7, it's got to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, in a tournament like this, you're playing for this much money. Things happen. You can't really dwell on it. You got to keep moving forward and keep playing the game. Right? It's not gonna change on the map at this point.
100%, but still,
got to have that short-term memory.
Yep.
But looks like as kind of taking a look at the overall placements of a lot of these players, looks like Dusty Divot, a current position just kind of outside of the eastern portion right now for Vikkstar and Tinny, and kind of hanging out on the outskirts of Loot Lake right now is both NoahJ and Avxry, of course, does have that sniper rifle in hand, ready for those long-range engagements, of course, if the time does call for it. But both kind of trying to find these exiting frags. Still quite a bit of enemies still left alive. As if you're just joining us, of course, our Friday Fortnite 20K. It's our week 4 of these matches. We're taking a look at our winners' semis. Of course, winner of this game advances on to the winners' finals. Loser is not eliminated necessarily, but they have to go down to that very difficult losers bracket. Got teams like FaZe, even Ninja's team down there as well. A lot of really solid squads who are on the brink of elimination, but still trying to advance forward. And unfortunately for one of these squads, they will be seeing a similar fate. But as Game 1 starts to come to a close, both squads hanging in there despite the Game 1 reset like you mentioned, Taylor, but it looks like they could be getting around the same area once the zone kind of moves in as time does go down. But, of course, taking a look at Vikkstar's screen currently, just trying to get out of the divot, being aware of that zone, which is going to be coming up very shortly. The Storm in the back pocket. But it looks like he might actually find a drop here, so it could be a pretty decent weapon drop. He's got a gray AR, so I think anything will be an upgrade for this man.
Oh, man, and look at this, the accuracy from Noah. He drops one player, though, is getting shot from the Porta Fort just up ahead. He tried to snipe him out, wasn't able to connect enough shots, of course, though. He does have his teammate right next to him, so they're going to go for the push. The rocket coming in, of course. Good deflection from the building. Missed a snipe. He's going to be pushing up these stairs, and it should be a relatively easy kill if that player continues to just camp it up inside the Porta Fort. He's going to drop down in a great build.
Any fall damage. Wow.
No, great build at that point. His teammate, or excuse me, no, another player actually stole his kill. He's trying to go in, but of course I'm seeing some 7 damage coming in.
Right.
There's a lot of players around this area, and Noah just needs to escape with his life. It looks like he does place down something, but does get up getting taken down, and he will officially get eliminated. Avxry will find the kill in the end. Is there anyone remaining? Yes, actually at the top of the mountain right now. Avxry, very low on HP, has a rocket in his back pocket, has got some shields as well, but really needs to stand the will of time.
Only has 1 mini, too. No bandages, no med kits. He's not in a good spot right now. Does have the high ground advantage.
He could send out a rocket if he needs to.
Has a good amount of mats, which is good for him.
I mean, this is huge for him, right?
He does med kit on the ground, yeah.
That was very risky, too. He could have taken some fall damage there.
He doesn't go for the med kit. He wants the engagement. And actually, no, I believe he does pick up a med kit in the end, so apologies for that. Yeah, so does find the med kit. Going to kind of reset himself as one very talented player happens to be just in front of him. On the opposite end, I'm just seeing just off to our left monitor here, Vikkstar and Co. still kind of seeking around, but kind of focusing on this game. This is a very high intensity moment for NoahJ and Avxry. The rocket at his side, quite literally on his back, is the squad as it currently stands.
Ooh.
And I wasn't for sure if there was an enemy around him or if he just happened to. Yeah, couldn't exactly tell in that situation, but has the rocket and is just waiting to find where exactly this enemy was lingering.
Oh, there he is. So he's going to get pushed from the back, and he's going to take
builds.
Great builds. Getting on top, tries to RPG, but not able to get it as his opponent is, in fact, going to go down.
Using C4.
Using the C4 as well, and now he's got him trapped. Is he going to do the build edit? We'll see if he's going to be able to do so. His teammate, or excuse me, his opponent, doing some great defensive building, just locked in that room. He's going to go ahead and drop down, and like you said, Landon, this opponent is tough.
Definitely a difficult one
to face off. He's got to be careful
with
his mat control. He's using a lot of mats to build right now. He's going to run out pretty soon.
And you also take a look at his minimap in the top right.
Good knock.
Hey, there's some enemies around there. Thankfully, does get the knockdown, but still, you've got the other squad right on your heels. But it looks like, speaking of that player just in front of him, needing to stay up, has the rockets in his hands and happened to not put the ramp really just toward his right side, and Avxry's going to make you pay for that over and over and over again. But the players continue to find him, but the rockets paying off far too well. Here comes the explosion of the tower, and it looks like as the players start to trickle down, Avxry could be finding his 4th kill in succession. But on the opposite end, Tinny ends up knocking out one, and Vikkstar as well adding toward the arsenal, as I believe one player who was just in an engagement with Avxry has dropped down to the water, and I believe Tinny ends up finding that one as well. So a lot of kills happening as all 3 of our players join up together just outside of Loot Lake.
Yeah, Vikkstar and Tinny was like, you know what? There's too much action over there. We got to get in on it, and they're coming in as we see both teams shooting at the same player.
Tinny gets it again.
But Tinny
Avxry's
is
down.
able to get it. Avxry goes down. He's not going to be picked up as his teammate is already down, and now we have a total of 8 more engagements left for Vikkstar and Tinny to take to maybe potentially get a nice padded lead going into the second round. This is really big for Vikkstar and Tinny. Let's see if they can capitalize, Ryan.
See what happens here in the situation. Of course, like I said, Avxry, NoahJ, they're out. 8 players left. Try to grab as many kills as possible. We talked about the lead that these guys had in both Vikkstar and Tinny after the Game 1 reset. Definitely trying to add on toward that again. As it looks like, I believe Avxry, yes, of course, still down like we said, but still trying to find a few of these kills. I'm actually very curious what the score total is right now for Tinny. I mean, he's got at least 4 or 5 knockdowns in a row.
Lighten up the kill feed.
It's just so random that everything is just happening in this one spot. Of course, it's like, right, there's long engagements, there's long line of sight. So Tinny finally gets that elimination, but I mean, this is just insane how many engagements they've managed to find in this one section. And what amazes me is there's been no shots from the back. Of course, there could be a sneaky player coming through that storm, and they got to be very careful. But the good thing is Vikkstar and Tinny are currently spread apart as he does find two players going in with that grenade launcher as well. He might get explode at this point, but mowing him down, gets the knock, goes in for another grenade launch, and he's finally going to get that elimination, and good stuff coming from him. So Tinny and Vikkstar definitely lighting up the kill feed at this point. They might even pick up the last remaining 3. They're going to have a nice solid padding going into round 2, and of course that's what they wanted. They lost that from that first game reset, but now it looks like they have regained it, and they're going to look very good going into the second game. 17-12,
5-kill lead.
2 more engagements remaining, so they could have a potential of 19-12.
That could have gotten really bad too. If Avxry could stay alive there and get as many kills as he did there as kind of like a solo player there, that could have gotten that lead can get stretched from 5 to way more. So I actually think that despite them being at somewhat of a deficit coming into game 2, it could have been way worse. So that's big plays to Avxry there.
Absolutely. Of course, take a look at Tinny's screen. We can obviously see how many kills he has. Of course, 4 in total for him. Could be adding on to that as just hitting trees, trying to gain some ramps as he's now going to need them. Goes for the hunting rifle shot and does get a few tags on what is one of the final remaining players. I believe a jetpack on that player's back. But looking on here, as we'll see what they can try and do, trying to pad the stats. It looks like Vikkstar does eliminate 1 enemy with a nice little rifle shot there. I think it was like 100+ meters in that one, but looks like a little bit of lag coming forward as we'll go and switch back toward Vikkstar's screen. Tried to take a look at Tinny, but it's been the Vikkstar show so far throughout this game. 8 frags, the most in the entire lobby for any of our players. And with 1 remaining left, like you said, Taylor, this is going to be the biggest lead that was possible with the remaining players that were obviously up.
Yeah, no, this is great coming in, right? So it's going to be, what, 19-12? Is that what I said? I think 19
I believe
to 12.
so.
So what, 7-kill lead going in, which is actually exactly what they would have had
last time
would have had last time, right? So they got to be feeling good at that point. I mean, and there they go. Is Vikkstar is in fact going to pick up that final kill, but good stuff, right? Coming into the second game, 7 points is a decent sized lead. It's not a lot really in terms of a potential comeback, especially if the team goes down early. But they've got to be feeling good. They got to be feeling solid moving in. And I got to tell you, Vikkstar and Tinny, we haven't seen them in previous tournaments. Solid team.
Well, we talk about what's the number one thing we give NoahJ and Avxry? What do we say what they are?
Oh, consistency, right.
All right, so I'm seeing some consistency from their opposition here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually very impressed with Vikkstar's gameplay. We obviously can't see Tiny Screen in that streaming, but I'm actually very impressed with the way Vikkstar spaces his gameplay. Obviously very accurate. Almost every player we see in this tournament is going to be fairly accurate. Right? We got a lot of the best players in the world. But they do come in with a 6-kill lead. Again, first time with 7-kill lead. So, I mean, they're through 2 games. I mean, they're kind of showing us that they're kind of the ones taking it to the battlefield more than
they're arguing they could be the favorites, right? I mean, heading into this match, you could argue who really is the favorite coming into this matchup based off of the streams and whatnot, the games that we've been able to cast. You got to argue it's NoahJ and Avxry. However, back-to-back games, you could argue if we don't see the game 1 reset, this is without question going in the favor of Vikkstar and Tinny. But one thing that I noticed, a lot of the engagements that were kind of happening once NoahJ was out of the fight, we saw Avxry really having to go big. He had a lot of huge moments, but then we saw Vikkstar and Tinny really kind of take over. A lot of frags kind of going down toward the northern region of Loot Lake. You guys know what's the southern route right behind Loot Lake, where a lot of those players were coming from? They're coming from Tilted Towers. That's where a lot of the players were starting to exit from. And that's something that we had seen Vikkstar really do very, very well. His team, throughout a lot of these games, is sticking around the outskirts of the zone, being aware of where those players are. And it's no surprise that Avxry and co. met up with them toward the ending of that game. Avxry is just on the cusp of the outside of the circle, which happens to be all the players coming in from Tilted. That's a high-priority zone. It's a strat that we saw from Vikkstar and Tinny doing so far throughout the game. It's no wonder they meet up. And you could argue, right, it's the matter of them kind of hanging back, maybe not playing as aggressive as Avxry and NoahJ in that situation. They let them kind of find, 2, 3, 4 kills, but they find the ones that matter, and they stay alive at the end. I think you could argue the strategy of kind of hanging on the outskirts of the circle needs to be implemented a lot more from a lot of these squads. And like I said, when you come down to the final 20, the final 30, you have to have both teammates up. It's almost a death sentence if it's a 2 versus 1 engagement and there's 30+ players alive, 20+ players alive.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose a player early, it almost becomes more about damage control than it does about extending a league, getting the kills right. You almost have to focus more on making sure that your team doesn't lose a huge deficit rather than like trying to go out and get your own kills, do what you got to do. It's just a different mindset of the way you got to play the game. Talking to your point on playing the edge of the circle, I think that's so valuable no matter what situation, because like I said, a lot of times everyone has to go in towards the circle naturally. It's a battle royale game, right? So you're going to naturally get a lot of engagements of other teams also trying to go towards the edge of the circle. So I think that like if you sit in the middle of the circle, you're a sitting duck, right? And your life is so much more valuable. This isn't like a regular Fortnite game where like, oh, I die, let me just queue back in, right? Like, no, this is a match for money. Your life matters so much. And so I do think that sitting in the middle of the zone, while it could be high risk, high reward because there could be a lot more players in there, I think it's much smarter to play the edge of the zone, play where players are going to be coming in at. Obviously, high profile places like Tilted, that's going to produce players no matter what.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think the edge of the zone is almost like a must.
So one thing too that also we got to mention is Vikkstar and Tinny's unique landing position right outside of Fatal. Right, they go to those little houses that we haven't seen that before. Sure, soccer field's unique for NoahJ and Avxry. We have the FaZe guys who go to crates all the time, but we've never seen a drop like Vikkstar and Tinny. And of course, it's really advantageous because they can land there. They can get a couple of crates. They can get a couple of shotguns, maybe some decent loot, but then they're able to go in and attack Salty Springs at that point, but also get the people coming in from Fatal just behind them and be able to pick off 2 kills from 2 different locations.
Yeah, it's almost like a lot of our high-profile squads, as we're getting ready to load in here for game number 2, of course, are kind of going toward the non-peripheral areas, getting some loot, and then kind of heading in toward like the last few fights of a Pleasant Park, of a Tilted Towers, of a Salty Springs, like you mentioned. That's kind of seeming to be the kind of mainframe for right now. But taking a look at our landing zones right now, it looks like it will be NoahJ and Avxry kind of going just toward the looks like the southern region, just past Tilted Towers, maybe toward like a Shifty Shafts or something along those lines.
I think they're going salty.
Tinny, or are they going salty?
Vikkstar and Tinny's going salty.
Right.
It gives you a little bit of the best of the both worlds, right? We talk about the 2 ways you can do it.
Well, no, they're going on the outskirts again. We keep talking about this. They're not going inside of salty. They're going just on the outside.
Well, that's the thing. You get the best of both worlds, right? You get the situation where you.
That's why he went there.
That's huge. That's huge.
That sets the tone. And Avxry actually already gets the knockdown onto one player. NoahJ as well, getting in some engagements there. So it looks like, I believe, the official knockdown for 1. And so just like that, 2 early kills inside of Shifty. It's a great start if you're that team. On the opposite end, you're kind of okay with that. If you're in a Vikkstar and Co situation, you got the lead, and you also got a purple scar at your back.
Yeah, purple scar definitely is going to be hugely beneficial. What a great drop from him. Of course, Shifty Shafts, that's to be expected with NoahJ and Avxry. This is one of the 2 spots that they love to land. They get a couple of engagements off the beginning. Probably going to be a bit slow until they head over to Tilted, but it gives them the or at least ample opportunity to be able to get kitted up and look pretty good. So far as you see now, still only a 4-kill deficit. Not too much for NoahJ and Avxry to make a comeback. Of course, Vikkstar and Tinny, anything is possible. If they go down, it's really anybody's game at that point. But so far, same strategies we're seeing. They haven't switched up. Very consistent between the 2.
Definitely so. And, of course, both landing positions for these squads are going to be in the zone off the initial, so no real massive movements have to be made. We talk about the Shifty Shafts landing spot. Do we see NoahJ and Avxry kind of go toward a little bit of that exiting the kind of outer rims of Tilted yet again before the zone relocates? And right now, if you're, like I said, we talk about a lot of these teams' displays that they go kind of toward an area that's maybe not the most preferred. We talk about the phases, going to Junk Junction, going to crates. NoahJ and Avxry kind of hanging out in Shifty Shafts, hanging out just outside of Tilted Towers. A lot of these teams are just kind of favoring outside of the major zones, waiting for those exiting frags to come about. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of results come from it, as it looks like from right here on the NoahJ screen, he's implementing the new mushrooms. So.
I think that kind of outskirts thing we talk about is good because it gives you kind of the best of both worlds, right? We talk about the 2 kind of philosophies being either land where all the players are, land with the high kills right away, or play passive, kid up, and then go from there. I think this gives you the best of both worlds because you get to sort of be passive in the beginning, get your kid up, but then you do get to hit those high-profile places like your Tilted, like your Salty, with a potentially decent kit. So I think that it's kind of like a tweener between landing in the middle of Tilted or landing out and lucky landing where no one goes.
Well, plus you don't get punished from a bad drop, right? If you're in the outskirts, if you have a bad drop, no big deal. If you're going to like somewhere like Salty, Tilted, or wherever that's a high populated area, you have a bad drop, you can easily have an early first game, which we've seen several times.
Oh, he gets stuck.
When he got stuck, going to be down to 50 health. Luckily, he has that slurp juice. Is going to just pat him his stats just a little bit. He's going to go ahead and dip out, go behind his teammate. But of course, don't want to take that fall damage. Could be absolutely detrimental. He's going to go ahead and push up though, feeling the confidence with his teammate Tinny just behind him. He's going to go for the kill. And of course, there's still a player just ahead of him. He doesn't know where he's at. He could be at the house, or he could still be just below at that porta fort. But we do see Tinny on your screen manages to pick up another player. So Salty is probably going to be a little bit slower and calmer at this point, but that was a very testy situation.
Definitely was, as we talked about the influence of how Salty, how much presence can be really shown around this. That's sticky, right? If he doesn't have those shields, I mean, you could be saying Vikkstar is kind of out of the fight.
Yep.
Tinny's in a 1 versus 1. Of course, you got to prefer him in that situation, but definitely looking a little bit scary in that spot. However, the team makes it through, and unfortunately for NoahJ and Avxry, this team is still up.
Looked like there was a player trying and threatening to push Vikkstar. That
He
player,
hears
there he
someone,
is.
yeah, so
Yep.
he-
Good
There's
knock.
there's
Wow.
two of them there,
Two
yeah.
players there. Gets them both.
That is
Wow.
a
Great
phenomenal
shots.
shot.
Watch out for the
Oh,
trap!
no! The traps. Oh.
I was actually
man.
going to say, I wonder if there's a trap just around the corner because of the way that they were kind of hanging out with each other. But, yeah, man, thankfully no longer 125 damage, now only 75. So Vikkstar will stay up. And right now, if you're NoahJ and Avxry, you're just hoping that something bad happens for Vikkstar and co. on this side because you're really kind of hanging off of that deficit after map number 1. But still, narrowly hanging on by a thread is Vikkstar and co. But still with the lead, still in the driver's seat. We'll see as now both NoahJ and Avxry make their play. This is the play of the game right now for them. Heading into Tilted, you got to guarantee there's going to be a few players here. How many are there, and can they stay alive?
Yeah, very risky going for the jump. They're going to go ahead and dip out to the usual side that they're on, trying to get that high ground. They do spot a player, so they're currently coming in. Noah is going to be right behind that player, gets massive damage on him. Going to be getting an easy knock at that point. Of course, we don't know where the other teammates are. They might be pushing back up. I think they're going to be a little bit further down that hill, but also it could be a solo player, right? We don't know, especially since this is a public lobby. We have no idea how these people play.
Since he gets knocked down.
But he does get the knock, and there's also a purple scar there as well, plus a med kit in the back, so they're looking relatively good. He's going to go ahead and wisely go for the push to get that momentum going for his team. But getting shot from the side, good defensive build. He's going to push down along with his teammate to try and lower the health on that opponent. As we see, it's going to be Avxry pushing really aggressively in, leading the charge. As you got to be scared if you're the opponent. You have NoahJ and Avxry both pushing you. Jetpacker right in front. We see Avxry get the knock, as well as finally we're going to see Avxry pick up that final kill along with Noah, giving him a little bit of padding. Now they're sitting at 5 total kills, and I do believe they've tied it up at least for this game. But of course, still though,
Another
with a 7
purple
kill
scar.
or 6 kill deficit, and another purple scar
That's
along with the
very lucky.
How many minis? What is that? 8. He had 8 minis plus the half pod. Looking pretty good.
And honestly, if NoahJ gives the call out right now to his teammate Avxry, they have potential for 2 purple scars, right? Because there's one at the top of the mountain. There's one that obviously gets dropped here just outside of basketball court. So they have the ability to really have a solid kit leading into the final kind of 30-plus players. We talked about how close this game has kind of gotten. They're in a prime spot to bring this one back.
Yeah, right before he found, I was going to say, I think he has to go back up on the hill and pick up the purple scar.
Right.
It's only
A
37
gray AR
kids
for a purple
remaining.
scar, yeah, you're
right.
You're
I mean,
gonna take
and
that.
they're down a decent amount. They really need to put the pedal to the metal right now and start getting these kills. And obviously, Scar can make anything happen very quick.
So one thing that intrigues me is we see 5 minis on the bottom there for Avxry. We see 3 on the top for Noah. They could have stacked those and then dedicated at least Avxry or Noah, whichever one, to take over that med kit. But they left the med kit behind to go for these minis. I understand minis are very important, especially towards the later stage of the game when you're in those intense fights, right? You could just pop them for 25 shield a piece, but still having that med kit in your back pocket, especially if the storm gets closer, at least later on in the game, is big. But look at the jetpack.
2-piece. Can he find it?
Nice.
Yes.
Wow.
Phenomenal usage of that jetpack coming in from NoahJ. He's obviously used to it when it comes down to Call of Duty, but not when it comes down to zombies necessarily. Taking down those crawlers as he will now advance himself in a pretty good spot. Now up to 5 kills. Of course, Avxry at 2 as well. But like I said, these guys are bringing it back. They were down in game 1. They were down after the reset, but they're bringing it back slowly and surely. Granted, we also talked about the classes and whatnot, Taylor. Avxry didn't go back and grab the scar. I don't know if NoahJ was kind of in the heat of in the battle and didn't realize to kind of give that call out. Of course, there's a lot of things happening at that time, but granted, he does have I believe a blue burst, so definitely a pretty solid weapon to have. But I mean, granted, better kits are possible, but they're regardless in a pretty good spot.
One thing to keep in mind, too, they both have jump pads, so that's one thing that's very good for their mobility, especially late game. Looks like they're actually using one right now.
They're definitely not near the zone by any means.
I think another thing that's going to really help them at the end, especially in some of these chaotic team fights, is the fact that he does have the purple rocket launcher, or the grenade launcher, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah, jetpack.
no.
I thought he fell off.
Oh, you scared me.
It's so scary to watch that.
Wait,
But
he
looks like
doesn't.
Avxry-
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
What happened was they missed the platform.
Yeah.
He wanted to build a platform at the end and unfortunately misses. We have a fight going on with Vikkstar. He gets a nice knock going in for a second over at Dusty. Dusty is the area they love to dominate at this point, finally getting the elimination. but Avxry, he's going to be saved, and that's going to slow them down quite a bit.
That is because they're not near the zone. So that entire push that they're trying to make, getting on those jump pads to try to get back in the the fights and whatnot, they're not going to have that opportunity. But it looks like players have in fact joined alongside of them. Avxry needs to get back on the shields, needs to get back on the health, but he's the one leading the fight. He's the one in the mainframe of what's happening right now. Here comes the jetpack yet again from NoahJ, going up toward the skies, takes down one, nearly takes down the second, says goodbye to the astronaut, as it looks like they are finally able to grab these kills. It looks so risky at some points.
But as we say that, as we watch that,
yeah.
Vikkstar picks up 3 kills. So all that entire team fight that just happened there is essentially a wash.
Thank you, Ryan. No, I'm kidding.
No.
No, I'm kidding.
It's one of those.
It's true.
Like,
No, it's just like that's the main frame of the game. You could argue, right? If Avxry does not drop in that situation, they already are in a kind of more an advanced position. You obviously have a lot more health on Avxry that he doesn't have to utilize, whether it's a med kit or bandages and whatnot. They're in a better spot, but it looks like finally here comes the jump pad.
I think all Vikkstar and Tinny have to really do is just stay alive. I mean, we call it like in other games trade kills. All you have to do is basically trade kills. They have a decent amount of kill lead, and
if
we're kind of late game. We only have 16 players left on the map to kill in the first place. That's assuming they don't even shoot at each other.
Yeah. If we get opportunity production, if we get I know it's kind of difficult with no screen for Tinny. If we could try to get a scoreboard update just to see exactly where we're at right now with only 13 players up. Looks like some engagement potentially on the cusp here, right now here, Taylor.
Vikkstar doing a great job just of being annoying, not engaging too heavy, but still kind of making his presence known, getting some rockets in there. Obviously very deadly in this game.
Well, what I like about both of them, I mean, these teams are so consistent, and they haven't dropped. I mean, we've seen a couple players drop, but as far as like dropping completely out, we've only seen that towards the end of the first round. So very consistent play. And one thing about Vikkstar and Tinny is they love Dusty Divot from just the games that we've seen. Because mind you, we've seen 3 games from them so far, and every single game they have went to Dusty Divot at some point, and they've roamed around there more consistently than we've seen several others. As we're seeing now, Avxry is going to pick up a kill himself. But, of course, we're still working on that scoreboard to see how close these guys are. Notice, or reminder, though, sitting at 9 kills alone for Vikkstar.
They have 10 combined.
And I'm
pretty sure we're right up on the cusp of it being
29-22.
mathematically impossible.
Wow.
Just about. And that's what I was going to look at.
I think NoahJ and Avxry have to get every last kill
except
on the
for
map.
one.
Right, so 7 kill lead, 8 remaining. They
Yeah.
have to literally get every last kill on the map, essentially, to win. Unless
Talk
they
about the odds being stacked.
Oh, and just like that, NoahJ does get the knockdown onto 1. Here comes another engagement. A full squad just in front of him. Thankfully, has the jetpack to patent his fall. And can he find this kill? Yes, finds it to get another one. But here comes the continuous squad. So many players left, so many players alive. And can NoahJ and Avxry hold on? Can they find nearly every kill remaining? And it looks like they're going to stay alive for just a little bit longer. No engagements right now for the opposite end. It's all NoahJ and Avxry in this spot. As now it looks like they could all be joining forces, really.
Yep.
And right now you could argue if you're Vikkstar and Tinny,
you have to follow him.
Yeah, do you follow him? Do you join up or try to go your separate way? Like you say, Ryan, I think the play to do right now is to hang on their heels, to not let them have any free kills at this moment, because right now we only have, what is it, like
five engagements,
5 players
kills.
up. It's a 4-kill change right now.
1 kill
4-kill
for
difference.
I believe 1 kill for Vikkstar and Tinny wins the game.
No, they have to get 2 because 1 kill, they can still get 4 and tie it up. So at this point, they have to get all the kills.
They have 5 right now?
They're up 5 right now, and there's only 5 engagements. Wait, you're right. They're up 4. They're up 4. So yeah, so they have to at least pick up 2 kills to take the game. So this is it's still a very close moment at this point. They're not together. We're going to see a jump pad going through.
Yep.
Noah as well on that jump pad with Avxry. They're searching drastically for these players. Now, of course, you never know where they're going to be. They've got to scope out the competition.
And you notice they actually go to different areas because right now NoahJ is in Shifty. I'm not exactly sure where Noah is at, or Avxry is at right now.
Look at Vikkstar's screen. Look at his mini-map. There's
a lot of separation. Yeah, a lot of separation for these final players. They are desperately trying to seek out where they are. Honestly, if you're Vikkstar and Tinny right now, I'm sitting 1 with Noah and I'm sitting another with Avxry.
Sure.
I don't agree with this play at all from Vikkstar to be out by himself.
No, but the thing is, NoahJ and Avxry did the right thing by splitting up.
Oh, yeah, they do, absolutely.
So
but
they
like
need to. They're not the ones.
Yeah,
they're at the deficit. They kind of need to.
He's got the jetpack. I keep forgetting about the jetpack. I'm like, man, he's really high up there. But the jetpack, of course.
And I think, honestly, what he's doing in the situation, build up as high as possible, because if someone shoots it, if someone starts to shoot his ramp, he's okay with that, because at least he knows where the enemies are. But speaking on the opposite, Avxry has an opportunity for 2. I believe 1 player is just behind him right now, trying to find these remaining ones. Nice building coming up as well. The great recovery with this quick fort build, and it looks like he could be finding 3 kills in quick succession. I believe Tinny is here trying to find all these kills from him. No jetpack, only just the back bling.
I think Tinny did get a kill, though.
Tinny might have found
Avery,
one.
oh, there's so
Vikkstar
many.
actually drops one just in that situation, so I believe it's very close to being over if it's not already.
I think we could see a tie here potentially. I don't know how many kills Tinny just picked up. I think he picked up 2 maybe, or he might have got with the knock and then 1. But honestly, I don't know. At this point, there's only 1 player remaining. So this
Vikkstar sees him.
If Vikkstar sees him, this is definitely going to be game. If Vikkstar is able to pick up this kill, which looks like it's totally uncontested unless some
Come on,
miracle
Dark
happens,
Voyager. Oh,
and there it
I
is.
think that's the
Vikkstar.
game.
I think that's the game. I think they won by 1.
NoahJ11,
Look
Avery
out.
16, 13 came in the game with a 6 kill lead.
We'll see
It's
by
over.
his
It's over.
reaction. We'll see by his reaction.
over.
Let's see what he's going to be doing. He's doing math just like I'm doing in my head.
He's like, what was the
There,
end of
got
that?
it. There it
is.
is. I think they won by 1.
That's, such a,
Won by 3.
that's, a,
Won by
that's
3?
a priceless reaction when you know that they're adding it up in their head. And they're like, okay, carry the 5. Okay, there's the 3.
Hey.
We won. Let's go. Like, it's great to see.
Yeah, man, it's fun to
It's
watch.
like, pull out your calculator really quick. All right, there we go. That's awesome. Yeah,
But
it's
come
such
on,
a awesome
Vikkstar and
ending
Tinny,
there.
a team we haven't
I don't
seen
think any of us predicted that.
coming
no.
through.
Secure top 3. They're in winners finals now. That's at worst case scenario, they're top 3.
And that's
in the money.
$3,000.
That's money.
That's $3,000. Come
I'll
on,
take
that's
that.
huge, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
but
take that.
We love
Vikkstar and Tinny, one of the sleeper teams, coming
yeah.
through and beating one of the most consistent team, Noah and Avery, of course, still in the loser bracket.
Yep.
Still, that loser bracket, by the way, is absolutely stacked. Of course, you'll be pulling it up. We'll probably pull it up on the screen as well. But then again, also they're dropping down to play blitz, which is kind of interesting, changing it up a little bit. But come on, Vikkstar and Tinny, 31-28. So what is that? 3? All right, you got it.
Real math hours.
I thought it was 1. I'm the Casio. You're the TI, whatever it is. I don't even know, 86 or something. Whatever. I don't know. Math is hard.
Did you just say random words than a number there? I'm not sure what
I'm
you
a
said.
graphic calculator, is that what you're saying?
You are a graphic
84 plus?
calculator, and I'm just that simple one that you can.